In 2008, three complete strangers were put together with the hopes of creating the greatest Sony podcast ever heard. Today, unable to stop podcasting, the show survives as connoisseurs of dick and fart jokes. If you need Sony news, are not deaf, and don't want to die of boredom, maybe you can listen to BigRedBarel Blu.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 189 of The Blue Show. I've decided to screw Dave over and never use the small numbers again. Just to let you guys know.
That's messed up, man.
Why is that
How's he
messed up?
going to know? You think he's that smart?
I think that we already send the file names in with the large episode numbers anyway for him to edit, so I bet he could figure it out.
I think it's because you don't want to lose count.
Yeah. And bigger's better, unless you're talking taxes. But
Elephant never forgets.
anyway, fireworks. I loved some fireworks last night. Did you guys do fireworks?
No, I didn't.
I did fireworks 3 days before you guys did fireworks.
That's right. You guys had some other holiday. What was your holiday you had? Canada Day?
Canada Day, man. Canada Day. It's like the 4th of July, only with less guns and more pot.
I didn't celebrate with any guns.
I didn't celebrate any pot.
That's true.
Wow, you
Or
guys
guns.
are patriotic at all.
So, Frawlz, I gotta say, I came to work, I checked the headlines, and I thought of you because
Thanks.
you live in San Diego,
Oh, I thought you were talking about a mugshot or something.
and San Diego made the news because
Yes, we did.
they had their fireworks show, and it went off early, and it was over in 15 seconds, which made me
Really?
think of
So,
you. And they said that has never happened to them before, and they apologized, and they sent everybody home disappointed. But what happened?
my God.
There was a technical glitch, and their entire
Yeah.
18-minute choreographed to music firework display went off all at once. Every single firework went
15
off.
seconds. 18 minutes and 15 seconds. That's basically how it went down. I didn't see it. You know, I was driving back from the airport. I went to Phoenix for a birthday. And I... all of a sudden... The GF turns around and goes, "Oh, there's the fireworks," and I saw massive explosions in my rearview mirror, and I'm like, well, like at least I got to see a little bit of it, but I didn't know I actually got to see the whole thing. That was it. Awesome. So nice job.
I know those shows cost tens of thousands of dollars, and they went off all at once. Somebody's not... They don't have an ass left. They got chewed off.
Somebody wanted to blow their load early. Just get it out. And someone wanted to go home.
So, Pac-Man, where you live, can you buy fireworks like at a fireworks stand that go up in the air?
I don't think we actually have any stands, but you basically go to most of the convenience stores or a few other places stock them. You can go, as long as you're over 18, you can buy the big crazy ones.
Well, see, here we can't have anything. We can't buy firecrackers, and we can't buy anything that flies in the air. So we get really ripped off. They're all various forms of fountains and ground blossoms.
I have, I have a feeling that some of the fireworks being sold at some of these convenience stores in my neighborhood may be in some sort of gray area. Like, maybe they really shouldn't, but they know no one's really going to check. Because a couple of them are like bazooka-sized. I mean, they're huge.
Wow.
And the day before Canada Day, we have a park right beside our apartment, and, like, it sounded like a war zone was going on. It was, like, nonstop from, like, 12 at night till 4 in the morning, till the sun was starting to come up. They're just going off everywhere.
Wow.
Wow. All right.
Some of them are really cool. And some of them just go up in the sky, and it's just a big flash of white light, and you're like, man,
Boom. I like those,
$15
the
for
boomers.
that. That was pretty shit.
You have to go to the Indian reservations here to get them because they don't have the same laws that the state that they're in have. So, figure that one out. Anyway, what's going on with you, Pac-Man?
I've just been I've been looking through the list of PlayStation Plus collection games that they're giving away for free. I'm trying to decide which one to download next. Because I downloaded Virtual Fighter and I downloaded Little Big Planet, and I'm trying to decide if I want to download War, because I have limited amount of bandwidth. So if I download 5 gigs of one specific thing, I want it to be worth it. So I'm trying to decide between Warhammer or one of the other ones. but I may just wait and see how the rest of the month goes, because I might end up having to download something else.
It sucks that you can't download them and share them with somebody.
Yeah. But, I mean, I am really enjoying getting back into Little Big Planet 2, because there's some really, really good levels.
Really?
You know, I think we mentioned on the last show that someone is making the Little Big Planet versions of the Last of Us trailers. And there's 2 of them out now, I think, or maybe even 3, and they're really good. He's got the sound and the sound from the trailers and the music, and he's got it all set to Little Big Planet guys acting everything out, and it's done really well.
Dave's gonna love me. I'm eating Rolos while I record, so he's got.
Yeah, I don't. Wait, you're a grown man eating Rolos for dinner. Like, explain to me how that works out. Does nobody cook over there? You don't have a microwave? Like Rolos.
Well, what the deal was it came time to be ready to record, and I showed up, and I was on time. And this is all I had was a pack of Rolos. So then I call you, and you're like, could you go back in 3 minutes? And you were probably eating or something worse. So that's why I'm eating what I'm eating. I'll eat something later, but it's what I had.
It doesn't really bother me, because I can't hear you eating.
I know, but I think Dave's going to get all the little lip smacks as I'm...
Well, you just know he's got a bunch of things like stuck to the top of his mouth he's going to be getting off in the next half hour.
Well, he's not chewing it like a cow. You know, because, like, I mean, if you see an adult who is still chewing with their mouth open as an adult,
mouth breathers,
it's a pretty safe bet that his parents were a failure. I mean, if you can't get your kids to chew with their mouth closed, just give up. I mean, if you can't pass that obstacle, I mean, you're screwed for the rest of it.
Yep. That's early on in the parenting stuff. So, all right, let's get to this agenda, which we actually have. Pac-Man, you were excited at this first topic. Not. It
was just amusing that it even made the list. I'm like, man, the weeks after E3 are just desolate.
Yep.
But this isn't actually so bad. I actually don't mind this game.
Sega couldn't cut it in the console market, so they're doing their HD remakes on everybody else's platform. So if you own a 360, a PS3, or a PC, they're going to be releasing Knights HD, actually. Which,
yeah, you didn't buy it the first time, probably not going to buy it the second time.
Well, some of the people out there probably weren't even alive that are listening to this show when that game came out. That game, my son is 15, and when that game came out, I was working at a place where he couldn't have been. He was a baby. So my guess is that game came out 12, 13 years ago.
Wow, yeah. Wow, is Sega Saturn really that old?
It was quite a while ago. Anyway.
Sega, yeah. A while ago.
They're adding achievements and trophies depending on your platform, HD graphics, widescreen. But if you want to see how us older people played it, there's a special Saturn mode where you could get the original graphics. And you'll be glad that you were born today and not when we were.
Okay, I remember playing this game way back in the day, but how would you describe it, like the gameplay?
Well, you were flying around, and it was one of the very first games to take advantage of the Sega Saturn's analog controller. And you looked like a jester, I guess, for lack of anything else. And you would fly around these paths, kind of like a what I call a 2.5D platformer. You don't have full 3D freedom, but you're going through these loops and you're collecting things as you're flying through them. In its day, the graphics were really good, so I'm interested to see how the HD remake compares to what we've got now.
I'm more happy just that they're still going through the Sega Saturn catalog, because there's a few games on there that I wouldn't mind seeing come back as remakes. If only just because Sega Saturn was one of those things that was a little before its time, and it died a little quicker than I think some people wanted. But I think a lot of people missed out on Sega Saturn entirely because it was here and then it was gone.
At the time, I managed a video store, so I would rent them for free.
I mean, those things are so easily hackable, too. Am I wrong?
Oh, you're totally wrong.
Like, you could mod those things.
I don't know.
I don't know. I just remember back in the day when the old consoles, you could just mod the crap out of them, and no one ever paid for games, especially the original PlayStation.
I know there were a few games. You remember the generation before when there was the competition between the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. Well, it kind of perpetuated into that platform, except for it wasn't Nintendo as much as it was PlayStation. But ultimately, PlayStation won out. So,
PlayStation.
Yep. Anyway, Frawlz,
Anywho,
you weren't probably as excited for Knights HD, but you will be excited for PS3 Firmware 4.21 HD.
what did it do?
They've switched to high-definition firmwares, which is a complete...
But what does it do?
It does nothing. It increases software stability, some software stability. And
why? My software is stable anyways, dude. I don't need more stability in my software.
It's optional, though. You can opt for less stable system software.
But I can't sign on to PlayStation Store, can I?
Yes, you can. That's why it's optional.
I can. That makes sense. Not really. This is the first optional one I could ever do with PlayStation.
It is not. The problem is the optional ones are eventually replaced by mandatory ones, and since you don't turn on your PS3 very often, you never notice the optional ones. Plus, they don't actively tell you, hey, this is available. It's just if you check, it's available.
Okay.
Ooh. We got to mention something, because we were talking about advertising and how much people spend and stuff last week.
Yep.
Just got to mention that Microsoft lost $6.2 billion last quarter, and almost the entire amount was on ads. They decided, let's just buy an ad company, and they took a bath on it. $6.2 billion. You know what? Yes, Sony's lost some money too, but that's still a lot of money to be losing just on ads that went nowhere.
I was reading an article today. This is not so much related to video games, but it was actually on VanityFair.com. I don't read that site, but I was linked to it. And they described Microsoft's biggest problem is that they require every supervisor to grade their subordinates. What do they call it? There's a term they used for it. Stack ranking.
BDSM?
No, stack ranking. And what they do is...
Did you say stack ranking?
Stack ranking. So if you have a team of 10 people underneath you, you have to rank them in order of performance. And what they do is they give one person above average, 7 people average, and then maybe I've got this wrong. Hold on. Oh, 2 people get a great review, 7 get a mediocre review, and 1 gets a terrible review. Despite their performance, it's all relative performance. So how you compare to your coworkers, not the job you did. So instead of everybody fighting to excel, they're fighting to make sure that they look good compared to their coworker. They're not worried first and foremost about the product or the job they're doing. They're making sure they're not that one person that gets a terrible review, because you get a couple of terrible reviews and you're going to get out of the company.
That's fucking crazy.
That's a horrible way to run a company. And I guess time and time again, there are ex-employees of Microsoft that would point out where bizarre things were canceled or people got in trouble or canned or whatever for reasons like that. Not absolute merit, but relative merit. And, you know, it's like if you watch any of these reality shows where people get voted out, that's almost what this seems like. It's like, I don't care what kind of job you guys are doing. At the end of this quarter, somebody's getting voted out of the company. And it could be a great person. But
you are the weakest link.
Yeah, the tribe has spoken.
You suck. But I didn't do anything. You just suck worse than everybody else.
Well, that's the thing about big corporate companies is a lot of directives and things like that get passed down from on high. And I'm sure somewhere up there it maybe made sense, but when it comes down to the practicalities of it, it kind of goes crazy. Which, I mean, it shows. I mean, both those companies have taken huge losses, and not because the economy is really super bad, but just because they've been really bad with their money. You know, so if corporations really do take over the world for governments, it's still going to be the same thing. Corporations are just going to waste just as much money as the governments do.
I never quite understood how much money a publicly traded company can call their own. I mean, ultimately they have to answer to stockholders, but I mean, Apple and Microsoft, even Sony, have giant bank accounts. How much of that can they just do what they want with? I mean, does Microsoft work it into their plan that they're going to spend $6 billion on ads and not get anything back?
No, the way it works is quarterly they have to report exactly what they're doing with their money. So when they start spending it on weird stuff, people start asking questions. So they could destroy their company on just a few stupid purchases or a few decision-making, strategies that they spend money on. So
I've always wondered about that. Anyway.
Well, Sony seems to be getting their together. They keep giving us free games. Can't be mad at that.
That's true. I'm not mad at them. Speaking of games, we should get back to games. On July 25th, Japanese gamers are getting something we didn't know we were going to get, and then we kind of thought we were, and then it kind of looked like they gave up on it. But they're releasing PS2 games onto PSN that are playable on all models of PS3s, and it sounds like this is not going to be a one-off thing. It sounds like they're going to start growing a collection of PS2 classics. So, Biohazard, I thought it was Codename Veronica, but it says Code Veronica. Siren and Dragon Force are going to be the first 3 PS2 games. I think in the Japanese PSN store, they're going to get their own category as PS2 classics or something. But no word yet whether North America or Europe's going to get the same thing, but I bet it's yes.
Nice. As soon as they do that, I want to see a Siphon Filter bundle.
I want to see a new Siphon Filter.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. But you know what
With Ninja Turtles from space.
You know what I want to see is I want to see what the hell this next game is. I thought PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was a weird name. And then I read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle. And apparently...
Who the hell is that?
Apparently JoJo is an established franchise that I honestly don't know about. And it's not a fighting game franchise because this is kind of described as a change of pace to be a fighting game. So Namco Bandai's doing it, or they're publishing it. CyberConnect 2, who I've never heard of, as the developer. They're releasing it in 2013. I will say, as far as fighting games go, the style was pretty sweet. It had a real comic book style, but it was done in all 3D. So if you're a fan of JoJo, check it out.
You really got to see it. I was very skeptical until I clicked on the link. I mean, it still looks definitely Japanese, but it looks very
And then
cool.
I have to claim ignorance. I actually thought Persona was an RPG, but it's a fighting game franchise. So I don't care for fighting games or RPGs. But Persona 4 Arena, coming out for the PS3, is going to be region locked for some reason. I'm not quite sure why Atlas is doing that. Even their own customer service guys weren't quite sure because they said both the North American and the Japanese version come with Japanese and American text and voice on them. But for whatever reason, you can't import it. So if you're excited to get you some Persona 4 Arena, wait until it's released in your country.
That's just weird. I mean, that's one of my favorite things about owning a PS3.
Yep. So apparently they can region encode it. Just most people don't.
That's weak. That's weak.
Hey, Frawlz, are you going to Comic-Con?
No, I'm not. I didn't get tickets.
Is that this weekend?
No, it's next week.
And they're out of tickets?
Yeah, they're out of tickets. That thing sold out in about 2 hours.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah, it's ugly, and it's gotten bad too. Like people aren't even going to go because it's like you want to go and you go around the floor and you can't even go to like the panels because people line up the whole entire day for the panels. So basically, you're just paying to go see.
That's how PAX is getting.
People talk for like an hour. That's it.
Well, if you are going, if somebody else is going, Sony's going to be there with a few panels. They're going to have a Last of Us panel, a Beyond Two Souls panel, and a PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale panel where they're going to announce 2 more fighters that will be in the game. So.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to have some other stuff. I know they're going to have an art showing from
I want them to put
Unfinished
Kai from Heavenly Sword as a character in that game.
Who?
That would be nice. That would be sick.
Which one?
Kai from Heavenly Sword, the crazy girl with the crossbow from Heavenly Sword.
Yes.
She would be a good character. I want her in that.
All right, so the next topic is kind of interesting. Right before E3, there was all sorts of rumors that Sony was looking into buying a streaming game company, which, of course, we all made a list, and the list was 2 companies long, OnLive and Gaikai. And so the day came for Sony's presser, no mention whatsoever. Later that day, Samsung's like, hey, we struck a deal with Gaikai, and everybody was like, oh, I guess maybe that wasn't Sony, that was Samsung. Well, this week we found out, nope, it really was both of them. So
both of them?
Samsung worked out a deal to put Gaikai content onto their TVs, which I guess is already out in beta. But then come to find out this week, Sony bought the company for $380 million.
That's a lot of dough.
That is a lot of dough. We should figure out how many days it takes them to lose $380 million based on their old numbers.
They've already started. The clock started a day ago.
So one thing that I've been reading a lot of this, because when this happened, everybody and their brother reported on it. They were careful in the press release to call it a cloud entertainment company, and that kind of makes sense. The technology for streaming, low latency, interactive stuff can definitely apply to more than just games. It can apply to, like, for example, Frawlz, you've complained about renting a movie through PSN and then having to wait to watch it. Well, if they can stream games, surely they could, use that tech for their movies. But Michael Pachter, one of our buddies that we like to talk about, he said this doesn't necessarily apply just to PlayStation. Sony could be looking at the bigger picture, bringing more interactive content to their TVs, for example, and other devices. So,
well, can I tie something in real quick?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. Through the FCC, something came through the FCC the other day about a PlayStation even more slimmer. And I know that you want to talk about it in the rumor section, but do you think that they could be doing something with a large hard drive and no Blu-ray player and just kind of make everything downloadable and kind of make this part of it streaming media?
I think they could, and they may eventually, but I don't think that's going to happen for this gen. So
okay.
I actually kind of addressed this in the bonus topic at the end here. Well,
yeah, I know. I just wanted to kind of, we're on this topic. I wanted to kind of hit on it a little bit. Tease the listeners. You feel teased? I like that. Okay, go ahead.
Still, though, that's a huge leg up they got on Microsoft, because Sony was the first of the three to really get in on having cloud stuff attached to what they were doing, and we know Steam is a fan of cloud stuff as well, and Steam has been very friendly with PlayStation. So that whole anything with Steam and cloud and PlayStation all together makes me happy.
Well, in that document that leaked a while ago, Microsoft actually mentioned OnLive as a potential acquisition target. I think it probably makes it more likely that Microsoft or maybe even Apple would take a stab at getting OnLive. Some of the analysts have said that there's two main ways that companies form themselves startup wise. One is that they have a prolonged business plan and they have this methodology to get where they need to get, and over the long term they know 2 or 3 steps out where they want to go. The other one is the long term goal is to be acquired and to become part of something bigger. And Gaikai definitely falls into that category. I've tried out some of their stuff. I played, I think it was a FIFA demo via YouTube, of all things, but it was using their technology, and it worked. So I think OnLive has a much more fleshed out ecosystem, but I'm a little worried that, their entire business plan is based on cloud streaming, and at this point, I don't know if the time is right for OnLive to sustain their market the way they want to until it catches up with everybody.
No, I mean there's too much limit. There's too much limit in their audience just based on countries and bandwidth, and how fast people can, how fast their speeds are going up and down to really make it. I mean, I know OnLive is just simply not practical in Canada. Yeah,
well, I mean, for the next handful of years, it's probably going to be optional at best. They can't solely go that way. So
the thing that makes this so cool is there's so much like second tier stuff that they can supplement with cloud streaming and cloud saves that they can really improve a lot of services without making you totally dependent on having to stream everything.
Yep. Well, one of the rumored things that they're supposedly working on, which I don't even know how these rumors can get out at this point, but that's one way they could handle their backwards compatibility, either with PS1 and 2 stuff now or with PS3 stuff in the future, especially if they change architectures on the PS4. If they don't use a cell processor, this is an avenue. They could have, a server farm full of cell-based Blade servers or whatever, and maybe you would stream your PS3 games. I don't know how that works, but
yeah, I don't think you'd be able to stream a PS3 game, but
moving on, let's see. According to an ex-Sony employee's resume, work started on the PS4 at least 2 years ago, since he says he's worked on advanced graphics libraries and security for a next-generation PlayStation. which is a generic name, but also on his resume, he specifically mentioned working on the PS2, PS3, and PlayStation Vita. So next generation PlayStation seems like it's probably the PlayStation 4.
But that makes sense. I mean, they've definitely been putting in some time on the PS4 for a while now.
Yep. I mean, they would have to be.
Well, I mean, the software takes forever to write. It's not just building hardware. You gotta do the software part of it. So
they're working on the cross-media bar too, Frawlz.
Yeah. No, think of it this way, though. It takes 4 years to make a video game, like a really, really good video game, right? Maybe 2-4 years. Why wouldn't it take that long to make the software for the next generation console? Yeah.
Well, I think the time is that when you talk about stuff like this, is the prototype stage is a big chunk of their time. They put something together and they test prototypes and see what works and doesn't work, and that's actually a big chunk of the money and the time spent in development. Because like the PS3 we got wasn't the original piece of kit that they put out. They had something originally and tweaked the hell out of it.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to originally have 2 HDMI ports. So I think they want to wait till the last possible moment to finalize all the specs, because things get cheaper as time goes on. Maybe they could either cut costs or keep the costs the same and get something slightly better if they wait till the last minute to finalize everything.
The rumor is that both the next PlayStation and the next Xbox are going to be designed with a much more maybe not user friendly, but at least someone technically skilled will find them much more modular in design.
Frawlz, I heard the cross-media bar 2 is going to be 3D.
I hope so. They'll suck in my living room.
So you'll be able to go left and right on the cross-media bar, up and down, but then also in and out.
Oh, my God, the in and out. You had me at in and out. Wow, I might do 18 minutes of cross-media in only 15 seconds.
All right, so this must be the fighting game episode. If you're a fan of Street Fighter, you probably know the name Seth Killian. Or if you watched the tester this last season. He goes by the handle Mr. Evo. He's handled tons and tons of Street Fighter tournaments. He's considered an expert in fighting game mechanics. And now he can add to his resume Sony Computer Entertainment external development at Santa Monica Studios. He's a lead designer.
Whoa.
Working with the external studios, which might make you think, well, why don't they have him working on PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale? And then he would say, well, I am, because that's being developed by an external studio. So they've contracted with, I think it's Superbot is the people doing it, but he is working directly on that game to make sure that the fighting mechanic and the basically the entire design of that game is as sharp as it can be. So
whatever, that's cool. You can't really knock Killian.
I think he just gave them a nice shot in the arm of credibility in terms of fighting mechanic.
Yeah, because he was with Capcom. I actually think he worked for Capcom for a while.
Yep. He
their combo system was insane.
I hate fighting games. All right. What I don't like, or no, what I don't hate. I said I don't like. What I don't hate is more free games. So Sony has shuffled. I don't hate more free games. I like more free games.
Oh, you don't?
You've confused me. What'd you say?
I like free games.
You don't play them. He's got
I like free games that I don't have to play.
Anyway, Sony's shuffling some games around on the PlayStation Plus dozen, as I've dubbed them. They gave us 12 free games the week of E3, and apparently it's starting to look like they're going to keep that number and just shuffle titles in and out of different slots on that 12. So they've added Gotham City Imposters, which my son actually wanted me to buy, and I never got around to it, so now we'll get it for free.
Didn't have tons of problems in the beginning, though?
Yeah, it wasn't as super popular as people hoped it would be.
Renegade Ops, which I really know nothing about. And then Pac-Man Polar Bear DX Championship Edition, minus the polar bear.
Well, Renegade Ops is top-down, you drive around in a vehicle, you sort of shoot stuff, collect things. But it's fun, for what it is. I haven't even beat it yet, but it's kind of ridiculous with the really G.I. Joe from the 80s sort of voiceover as you're playing it, but it's wicked. But the Pac-Man Championship Edition, I don't even know how to say it, but it's basically the best recent Pac-Man game.
Now, that game's like psychedelic and stuff too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not your grandma's Pac-Man game.
Yeah, I remember playing a demo thinking, I would like to play this, but I would like to not pay for this. And now that's worked out for me.
Yeah, and we've got the if you go on the PlayStation Network right now and you have PlayStation Plus, there's the summer sale on PSN right now. So things are on sale, and if you have PlayStation Plus, it's even cheaper. So you can get like Killzone 3 multiplayer for $8, Crysis for $10, Shadow of a Colossus for $10. You can get that infamous Festival of Blood for $5. I mean, there's some good deals on there.
Well, just so people realize, the sale is 30% off, but if you're a PlayStation Plus member, you get 50% off. So that's an additional 20% off. If you're still trying to figure out if the value is worth it to you, I don't see how it could not be.
Yeah, I mean, if you are still buying games and playing on your PlayStation 3 and you don't have PlayStation Plus now, I mean, just that you sign up for your 1-year subscription, download your 12 games, and they're going to keep switching and rolling out games. So I mean, just right now, you've already gotten enough money worth to cover the cost of that subscription, and you're gonna get more on top of all the other stuff you're gonna get. I mean, it's just there's really no excuse not to, unless you literally have to decide between feeding your family or spending money one time to get a whole bunch of free games.
They can go on a diet.
And they can go on a diet. You know what I mean?
All right, it's time for some Vita news. Frawlz,
yeah!
You're always happy about the firmware. Sony has officially confirmed the PlayStation Vita firmware 1.80, which is coming, quote, this summer, will add PlayStation 1 support for the Vita, which is cool because I've got, a couple dozen games. And those are, I think they look great on the PSP. They don't look great on the TV. So I think the portable serves the PlayStation Classics best.
Right.
So I will be happy to have that.
Get that Wing Commander on PlayStation Vita.
Didn't that come 4 discs or something?
Man, back in the day, yeah, it was a lot of discs. But I think Wing Commander 4 is the only Wing Commander available on the PlayStation Network, which is silly because Wing Commander 3 is actually the best one. But there's other stuff like Legend of Mana, which would be sweet to be able to play on your Vita.
Metal Gear Solid HD, which I talked about last week, gave the Vita another boost in Japanese sales. The week before the game was released, they sold 13,589 units. But the week it was released, that jumped to almost double, 25,636. Not great numbers all in all, but double is better than not double. In comparison,
wow.
So, the 3DS sold 66,391. So.
Oh, so you're talking about Vita sold, not Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, the Vita. There was a boost in hardware sales. The game itself is doing pretty well, I think. But they also released the Crystal White Vita in Japan, which created another temporary boost. The sales are so low that if anything at all happens, it creates a boost in sales. So they bumped up to 20. Oh, that's the same number. I wonder if those two were released in the same week, the Crystal White Vita and Metal Gear Solid HD, and they're both trying to take credit. That's looking pretty likely since that number is exactly the same.
I don't care. I still want my Vita. I'm just waiting to find out who loves me this year.
You know what I saw? Somebody was using their Vita, and they must have signed up for PlayStation Mobile, which is the renamed PlayStation Suite. They whipped up a remote desktop app, and they were able, with their Vita, to connect to their PC, and they streamed Left 4 Dead on their Vita, complete with motion controls and some creative button mapping, and they were literally playing Left 4 Dead on their Vita.
That's pretty badass.
It is. I mean, it really makes a case if Valve wanted to take a stab at it. It's a good shooter.
Come on, Gabe Newell.
Yeah. Why not?
And then, boom, Half-Life 3, Vita exclusive. Just to piss off everybody. You know what? If they did that, that would sell Vitas, though. Because people are just so crazy about Half-Life. They'd be like, oh, well, I guess I gotta buy Vita now.
Just to get another chapter.
They bitch about it, but they do it.
So apparently, if you bought some games, some PlayStation Minis through PlayStation Plus, or you got free ones through PlayStation Plus, there was an issue where you couldn't get them to work with the DRM on your Vita. And so if you bought the game on your Vita without using either it being a free mini or without buying it on your PS3 and then trying to transfer it over, it would work. Apparently now they've fixed it with the firmware, and if you legitimately have access to play a mini anywhere, it should work on your Vita as well. So for those people that were irritated, I can understand how that would be frustrating, but it should be working now. Hopefully somebody will let us know whether they got it working right.
Yep, because you got to play your Tetris.
Frawlz.
Yes, sir.
We got a couple rumors.
The rumors. This is the part where I start sounding Arnold. And if you haven't heard this, you haven't started listening. So you should have listened a long time ago. I'm running out of shit. Dude, we've done this for 189 episodes. I'm running out of stuff to say.
We didn't have rumors at first. Quit your bitching.
We did.
Not at the very beginning, did we?
No, we didn't have anything at the very beginning. We just talked about crazy.
Yep. All right. So the first one. According to FCC filings, Sony is readying a 4000 series PS3 model, which they're calling CECH 4001X, where the X...
It's called a waste of money.
The X will change depending on the storage capacity. But one of the changes that people noticed on a recent firmware was the wording eject disk was changed to remove disk. And as you'll notice, the original PS2s had a drawer that popped in and out, so you could eject a disc. But when they came out with the PS2 TWO, it was a pop top. You would lift the lid and drop your CD on the spindle. So some people are thinking maybe this is a new slimmer slim PS3 that has a top-loading mechanism to cut costs, and maybe size. I don't know. So
that makes sense because the way it is now has a little motor.
Mm-hmm. And I've had no problem with it, but I don't trust those little motors. I don't know. I keep expecting sand to get glued to that little flat spot right in front of the disc tray, and as it sucks my disc in, I just hear it going...
That's not a disc!
Yeah, I think about that sometimes, too.
The next rumor. Sony is potentially using the Gaikai purchase to power streaming of PS1 and PS2 games. Which, when you think about it, the streaming... my experience is when I've tried to play like PC games with OnLive or Gaikai, if you want them to look as good as your native PC games, the resolution has to be up there. And then, you start talking about all the bells and whistles the graphics cards can pull off. PS1 and 2 games are standard def. So their resolution is automatically a lot lower. The hardware originally didn't have a lot of bells and whistles in terms of GPU tricks that it could pull off. So this content would probably make the best sense for the most true to real experience. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So, I mean, that does lend a lot of credibility, but on the other hand, what takes away from it is Gaikai is designed to stream PC games, and these are PS1 and PS2 games. Now, I know everybody and their brother's got a working PS1 emulator. The PS2 emulator is kind of hit or miss. I mean, I haven't been big into the scene, but some games work.
No, you're right. I mean, you can get a PS2 emulator, but you got to with it.
So I don't know, is Sony going to take a warehouse full of PS2s that they've been making for the last 5 years and hook them all up to Gaikai servers somehow, or do they have a software emulator they're going to use?
There's definitely a possibility that they could do that. You know what else I could see them doing is having a Sony channel. Like on the PS3, so you click on the Sony channel and it's permanently streaming from Gaikai their show. So you no longer will have to download the tester or download whatever. It'd actually be a Sony channel where they'd be pumping out their own content. You could just sort of tune in, and it would always be on, just like a TV channel.
There definitely does make there's a few arguments. Not having to download demos. I mean, even if the quality of the demo is hampered a little bit over like native code running locally, you're going to get the feel for the game.
But that would be kind of sweet because even with the you are streaming some high quality content, so it's going to take up bandwidth, and you're going to be downloading some stuff. It's still probably easier on my internet bill to stream a demo from Gaikai than it is to download the 4 gig demo or whatever it is onto my PS3.
Well, plus, if you know 30 seconds in, oh, this is crap, you didn't have to download 2 gigs to find that out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Way better.
All right. Well, I think both of those seem pretty reasonable. All right. It is time for the shout-outs, because we've got a pretty decent bonus topic this week. I want to give a shout-out.
I feel like we've got kind of like a weird attitude this episode. What do you think?
I've had a weird attitude?
I think we all have. Kind of like a very subdued attitude.
Maybe it's the Rolos. Maybe it's the diabetic eating sugar for dinner.
Maybe that's it. Remember the fact that I saw you taking pictures of just yourself on Facebook?
All right. I'm going to give a shout out to Sanjwig from the Twitters and the Word Feuds and wherever else. Dark Wonders. I just want to troll him. Yes. He has no sense of humor, and I can't wait until he listens to this, and in like 3 or 4 days, I'll get an IM saying, "What do you mean I don't have a sense of humor?" And he'll be all butthurt.
Whatever. I love Dark Wonders.
I think he's got a pretty good sense of humor, just not one that could relate to you. Because you're not that funny.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, my sense of humor involves...
Maybe he's right and everybody's wrong. Maybe you're not funny. Maybe he's right.
He takes everything literally. He's going to get upset. Why do you think I'm not funny? No, really, why? I want to know why.
What?
Tell me why.
I want to know why.
So, okay.
The funny thing is, he's the only guy I know that buys convention tickets for like PAX and spends the entire 3 days there. Does not seize daylight. It's amazing.
Man, I would totally do that.
All right, last person, Kung Fu from the Twitters. Frawlz, what you got?
Jack of Hearts, laugh my ass off from Twitters. Leave 95
Oh, that's
PSN.
Levi. Sorry, that's dyslexia.
Is it Levi?
It is Levi.
Leave 5 PSN from Twitters. Juggle Boy 360 from the Twitters. I feel weird when I say Juggle Boy.
It wasn't Jiggle Boy.
I almost said Jiggle Boy. Jiggle it, baby.
Ew. Like to give a shout out to Kim Strandley.
Yeah, I think so.
I was going to say Strandl, but it's L-I. Kim
No,
Kim
those the I and the L stick together.
Shout out to Brooksy068, and shout out to Kojak Delta. I like that name. Yeah. From the Twitters. Did you know that I think it was Ving Rhames actually starred in 3 episodes of a reboot of the show Kojak that never went anywhere?
I did. It's on Hulu, I think.
You should watch it, because I actually like that show. I wish it had gone on longer just because Ving Rhames is awesome. This weekend, PS3 Gamer Nights, I am seriously considering putting out, or actually not this weekend, next weekend, because this show is probably not going to make it out for Friday or Saturday. But so the week after this show comes out that weekend, I'm probably going to bring back Killzone out of retirement, because it's only $8. You can buy Killzone 3 multiplayer for $8. You get, I think it comes with everything. I may be wrong, but you can get the DLC for cheap as well. But we're going to have a Killzone 3 gamer night again, just to bring that game out of retirement, because it's still awesome, and it's so cheap. There's just no reason not to get it. But this weekend, just hit me up on PSN on Saturday, and we'll put a group together playing whatever.
Oh, cute.
I will be online, and usually a couple of the other guys from staff are online. The guys from Proven Gamer and a couple of other sites, we usually get together in some sort of posse to kill noobs. So PacManPolarBear on PSN, PacManPolarBear on Twitter. Hit me up. Let's do some game. Let's kill some.
Sounds like a plan. And
if you want to see a picture of my limo ride with a bunch of chicks in lingerie from a couple weeks ago, go to my Twitter. It's Frawlz, F-R-A-W-L-Z. You'll see what I had to deal with 2 weeks ago from the last story. So.
We got the best Twitter handles, because they're so like. What's your Twitter, Rothbart?
Rothbart.
They're all exactly the way you should be. Like, if you need to find us anywhere, our 3 names are actually pretty searchable.
Yep. All right, so we got to call that an episode, because we've got a discussion to have in the bonus content, which you could hear if you get the BigRedBarel podcast app from either the Amazon Android Marketplace or the iTunes Marketplace. I believe it's $2.99, $3 in that vicinity.
And our apologies to People International.
Yeah, screw you guys. Sorry.
I have no power over this stuff.
Get a proxy. That's what I would say. There's proxies where you can act like you're in the States. That's my official advice.
That's how I watch Hulu sometimes.
See? There you go. Wasting your Canadian bandwidth on Oprah.
Whatever, man. Her lecture series is informative and riveting.
Bees for you. All right. So we will see you guys next week. Time to get to the bonus content now.
Stay frosty, everybody.
Yep. Frawlz in your mouth.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcast, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.